Welcome. You want to see how I built this cart? Come on into the shed. I haven't done a lot of talking in this one because I feel like sometimes I over-explain what it is I'm about to do. So this one I thought I would just start doing things. I'll cut up some pieces and then I'll talk about what it is I'm doing. I'm building a table. It's more of a cart. In this shop space so far, I don't have enough tables, carts, supports for the tools, so I needed one. So what I need is a table that's going to replace this bench that I have the planer sitting on. The bench that the planer is on is not a bench at all, it's a generator. And the generator is way too heavy to wheel outside, use the thing, wheel it back in. And the generator's on wheels, but it's a big one. So I made a little table for the top of it to fit on top, and that worked well for the first couple months that I was in here. But it's time for something better. So I thought I'd make a table for this. It's going to be a cart with wheels on it. Very simple. You can see 2x construction. It's going to have a plywood top like all of them do. But in looking for a model to copy, I looked through the internet, and everybody has these, but they all just butt joint the edges and screw them all together. And I want something that's going to be sturdy, yes, but I also figured, why not practice a little bit in the process? So I thought I would take these 4x4s for the legs and carve them out with these big dados on the edges, and that way the 2x4s can sit on that. All the weight will be carried through the leg instead of scabbed on with some screws or glue or screws or nails or something. The wood's going to be completely supported here with the wheels directly underneath of this. You see this leg goes the whole way through, and these 2x4s are joined at a miter at the corner. Why? Just because, just to practice, just to make it look nice. I guess I'm allowed to do that. So I've got the edge pieces cut for both the bottom and for the top. I'm going to glue these joints all together. See, lots of surface area for glue, and I'm going to screw them together to hold it tight while the glue dries, and also for a little more support. I'm going to be able to put the planer on top. Now you might think, well, it's a little big for a planer. It is. This is going to be a table for both the planer and the jointer that's back behind the camera there. I'm going to fix that thing up. It's as rusty as this table saw was. I'm going to put that thing together. I'm going to put it on this table along with the planer. So this is going to be the cart that I roll out when it comes time to start a project and I need to dimension lumber. I'll have the jointer and the planer that I can both, dimension mill my lumber with. And then when that's done, I roll that back into the corner and get started with the other tools and joinery. Good morning. Today's a new day, and I'm going to get back on this cart that I'm building. I wanted to go over a little bit about what I did yesterday. The clips that you'll see there they're a little dark because, new equipment, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I think I got it fixed today, so we should have better footage. So yesterday what I wanted to do was hog out a bunch of the wood off of those legs. So the best and easiest way to cut off, this much wood from a leg or any chunk of wood is to use a dado blade. So that's what I did. I installed the dado blade here in the table, and this just gives me a lot more, saw area. So with a couple of passes over these, well, it looked like tenons, I was able to cut out the majority of that wood from those legs. Now today what I'm going to do, and I've gone back and forth on what to do with this top, and I think just because I'm being fancy anyway and doing the mitered corners on the 2x4s and the 4x4 legs that are chopped out like this, I think it would be unwise, or at least not pretty, to show the exposed raw edges of the plywood for the top. All the rest of this is going to be so nice and neat. It'd be ugly to see the exposed edges of the top, and I'm not into doing edge banding or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is take these top pieces, and I'm going to route a small channel, a rabbet, into the inside edge of this, so when it's all put together, the top will set down into it. So the top will be flush with the edges. It's kind of like doing the edge banding before doing the top. I guess you could think of it that way. So we'll sit down in there, glue and screw into the top, and it'll be pretty, I hope. So the way we're going to do that, again, I'm going to use my dado blade that I've got set up here, and I only need 5/8 of an inch of it. That's what I'm going to make this rebate like 5/8 of an inch. So to do that, I can't have the fence that close to the dado blade. It'll tear up your fence. So I made a sacrificial fence here, and what I do is I put this to cover all but 5/8 of an inch of this blade. Run the blade up into the fence, so it's covering part of the blade and allowing 5/8 to be exposed. And that ensures that when I run this piece over top of it, I'm going to get the full 5/8 all the way out to the edge. It all sounds good in theory. Let's see if it actually works. All right, I've got the first board I'm going to run through. I'm going to take off this corner piece under here. I've got my other boards set up ready to go, and they're sitting in the direction that I want them to pass through. I've picked the board so that the top ones are prettier than the others. So let's give it a shot. Okay, since I haven't even made myself a lousy pair of sawhorses yet, I get to cut on the ground. So I'm going to start trimming up an edge here so that I can cut out the tabletop for my cart. Now I've got all the pieces cut out, but I gotta figure out how to glue this thing up. If I had a brad nailer, I'd probably just throw a few brads in there, glue the corners, you know, glue, brad, and the thing would sit together until I could stack it all up. I don't have that. What I'm gonna do, I've got these old, you know, janky corner clamps here. I think these things say Stanley on them. So they're old. They do the job. They just hold the corners together. So I've got these, believe it or not, I had 4 of them. So I'm gonna hold these together, probably take them off one at a time and glue them, clamp them together, and then when they're all clamped, I'll probably take some longer clamps and kind of put between them just to get nice pressure across the whole thing until they're glued up. Once they're glued up, I'm then going to add the legs. I cut these tenons a little bit shorter for the top because the top's going to be recessed into the edges. So the corner had to be a little bit lower as well to take the lowered top. So I will put these in the corner once these are glued up, put some more glue on the inside, and I've cut where I've drilled some holes on the inside so I can add a screw from the inside. You won't see it from the outside. This should just tie these together into here while the glue's drying, and then I'll do the same for the bottom once I put those rails on. Yet another day. Let's get our glue ups out of clamps and see how sturdy they are. And I did measure these across diagonals, and believe it or not, they're square. So now all we have to do is assemble this thing. I've got the legs, put the legs in the corners, attach the top to the bottom, and put wheels on it. That'll be a good progress. Honestly, that may have been easier to do from the floor. Let's see how this fits. Oh, it's close. It's within millimeters. Half millimeters. It's like I have to do a little bit of planing on the side here. Got a rough cut in it. It's keeping it from going in, but it is so close. All right, I've done some trimming on this piece and it fits in there now. It was only just a little bit off. I'll call that a win. So now all I'm gonna do, because you see this board is old. I mean, I think this is even like forklift tracks across it. I don't know where it came from. So in order to get this to stick, well, I've decided I'm gonna glue this into the table, and that should make it pretty rigid. It's not gonna, rack or flex, at least in those directions. So in order to get the glue to stick the best, I'm going to take some sandpaper across these edges where it's going to glue in and make sure I get a tight bond, and then, that's a joke, tight bond. Make sure I get a good glue joint and clamp it up and let it go. Now that I've got some of that schmutz off there, let's glue it up. Well, I lost the clamp. That's all I got. Guess I'll let it sit on it. There we go. Sure, the glue is still drying, but it's all clamped together with screws and clamps, so it's good to go. Let's put these wheels on. So here it is. Here's my cart, my planer cart, that I may or may not use for planing. It's turned out pretty nice. Like all woodworkers, I see the errors in it, and maybe in another video I'll point out the errors and discuss what I could have done better. So I went with the 3-inch swiveling casters on this side and fixed casters on this side. I figured, sometimes it could be just a little too loosey-goosey if you got swivels on all 4. So this moves around okay. I probably could have gone with the 4-inch casters because I'm going to be using it out here in front of the shop. And I'm also going to be using it on that incredibly rough, broken up concrete floor in there. But that's an easy enough thing to fix. If I decide I need to upgrade the 4-inch, I'll just swap them out and I'll have 3-inch for something else. So it seems to be a pretty decent height. As mentioned, I'll probably end up using it for a workbench because I don't have a workbench yet. That should be an upcoming project, shouldn't it? I think it turned out okay. What do you think? What do you think about the design? I didn't want to go with just 2x4s smacked together with screws and nails. I wanted to do something that at least gave me a little more practice on things like miter joints that I fairly suck at. So, you know, the way to fix something that you can't do very well is keep doing it until you can do it well. So that's what this was. If you notice throughout the build, I refrained from using the term shop furniture because I think a lot of people use that as an excuse to just do, you know, less quality work. They'd say, oh, it's just shop furniture. But I figure you got the tools out anyway. You might as well do some of the things that will make it better. So that's what I tried to do on this one. And I think it came out at least pretty clean looking, if not any stronger. But it is quite strong. It resists racking pretty well. That movement is because of the wheels. But otherwise, I think it came out pretty sturdy. So this is the project we built today, and I guess we'll stay tuned for the next project.